Hello. Still setting things up. Um, Today's been a bit hectic, but yeah. How is everybody doing? So, uh, yeah, probably have about 5-10 minutes of me just chilling out, talking random nonsense, maybe talk about dreams a little bit until we get into the wild stuff whenever a few more people get here. So, um, yeah. Is Discord having an issue for everyone else? I haven't been on Discord at all today. I'm getting ready to jump on there to start event. I guess the event starts on its own, but to just share the event on uh, OmniLucid. I haven't noticed anything. Hey, M, what's up? Who are you? I don't recognize the name. Hello. I imagine it's someone I know. Okay. Gotta get everything set up. What's up, Fieldu? Did waifu leave? Oh man, I have not been sleeping extremely well as of late, thanks to children and, my own hating of sleep, but, it's alright. It is what it is. Discord is dead? Oh, man. Oh, never mind. Okay. I recognize you. All we have left is YouTube. Discord is dead forever. That's funny. Um, how's the sound? Sound good for everybody? Okay, I have this. I know who you are. Oh, I gotta get on here, because this is where I look at comments at usually. Is the sound good, or should I fix it? I can do something that'll make the sound a tiny bit better. Oh, I did not mean to keep that yo up there forever. Yeah. Oh, man. I've been having... Sound is good? Alright, that's good. I have just been working non-stop recently, trying to get my life in order. No, trying to get my house in order. I just finished my master bathroom. I had to tile it and put a shower door in and paint the walls and paint the bathroom. And I still have one shelf I need to put left in there, but man, it's been killing my sleep. Uh, oh, but yeah. Let's see. I think I'm gonna just do this a little bit more, a little different than usual, just because I want to relax a tiny bit more. My back's already hurting from being tired of it. So I'm gonna move over here. Ah, lean up against this. Maybe move some things. And then, there we go. Yeah, I think Discord's dead for everybody right now. So that means the only people that are going to be seeing this are the people that, were already ready for it, or the people that clicked follow on YouTube. So I guess it's just the real believers. Okay. Oh, you bought E2 It's pretty good. Yeah, Exploring the World Lucid Dreaming is amazing. Highly recommend for anybody serious about lucid dreaming. I'm not gonna say that um, everybody that reads it is like the best lucid dreamer ever, but it does seem to increase the chances more than a lot of things. Um, for some reason, the event was still displayed when I clicked. Oh, that's good. That's nice to hear. That makes sense. I didn't think there were 6 people like patiently waiting until right now, but All right, we're talking about wild today, and I asked people to send me a bunch of like questions, and I got some in DMs, but they are all so very specific. So I just answered them in DMs, and Laberge was not Omni. No, I mean the term Omni hadn't been invented at that point. Laberge could get lucid whenever he wanted, is what he said. But I always wonder if he wanted to get lucid every night, would he have been able to? Because I've met a lot of people that say that, oh, I can get lucid whenever I want to. So I think that they often wait until they want to, wait until it feels like perfect, and then they do it, and then they get lucid most of the time. And so to them, it's like, oh, I can get lucid whenever I want. Um, I don't know. It's like saying like I can score over every defender that I want ever. But it's like, well, you only take wide open layups, so I don't know. I don't think I don't think it's a good thing to say if you're only getting a few lucid dreams a week to say you can lucid dream whenever you want. Be interesting to see if he tried to lucid dream every single night. Though mild was developed to get people. Man, I cannot get myself in the center of this at all. Do I just not understand how things work? There. Oh. So, we're talking about wild, which I have not taught wild very much in my life because, for the most part, mild is just easier. Most dialed techs, like SSILD, just 10 times easier to just, I mean, you just do the steps and you might get lucid, you know? Um, what? Oops. That was an accident. Didn't realize I was going to screw with, didn't realize I was going to screw with everything in the entire world. Alright, sorry. Clicked something on my phone and it destroyed the world, so. Um, So wild is slightly more advanced, people say. It's a little more difficult, people say. It depends on really. I'd say it's just a whole new ball game. All of the skills from dialed apply for wild as well. Now, I guess I should probably give a quick overview. There's two different types of lucid dreams. There's only two. There's a wake initiated lucid dream and a dream initiated lucid dream. Wake initiated lucid dream means that you go to sleep and you never lose consciousness. Dream initiated lucid dream means that inside the dream you realize you're dreaming, you're fully conscious inside the dream. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at wake initiated lucid dream today. All my content so far has pretty much been aimed at um, dialed, but this is going to be aimed at wild. What about EILD, an externally induced lucid dream, or a DEILD? So an EILD, external induced lucid dream, those usually, they have two things that they're trying to do. One is to either keep you conscious or to make you gain consciousness inside the dream. It's just a wild or a dial, depending on which EILD. Most of them are flashing lights inside the dream, so inside the dream you get lucid. But if you're saying DEILD, a dream exit initiated lucid dream, that is a wild because you go from the awake state to the dream state without losing consciousness. So, yeah. Oh yeah, this was the question. I need to keep putting these questions up here so I can shame everybody. Okay, yeah, you meant EILD? Yeah. So, yeah. So, externally induced lucid dreams. Those are, I mean, depending on what it is, like if I listen to a song or something like that, it's external, but I could use that as an anchor for wild, or I can use it as something to try to trigger a dialed. It's not, um, it's not some new thing. Logically, there's only two ways to get lucid, and that is dialed or wild. So, um, so wild. Now, there are a lot of different ways to wild. Um, it's it's a lot less studied than dialed is in my mind. So whenever we say anchor, I think a lot of people mean like 10 different things. So it's good to note that just wild is it's this very unstudied place, and I think that I have a game. Like, so the way that I see lucid dreaming, the way that I see everything is that you need to play a game, and at the end of that game, if you do the game correctly, you get what you want. Now, if you want a lucid dream, right, then the game is dreaming. I always say that. Now, if you want to wild, then the game is a little bit more specific. The game is going through phases of sleep without losing consciousness. So I actually have to go back over to the uncomfortable place. Alrighty. Man, it's just a bright line right there. I don't like that at all. Let's Right there. I don't know. I'm gonna scoot over more. Hopefully you guys can't see this room too much. All right, is this the right place? This is the right place. Okay. So, what happens to most people is you start going to sleep, and then big blank spot, wake up, right? Just complete woo, 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 woo. That's normal person's life with sleeping. And then sometimes go to sleep, big blank spot, woo, 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 and then right here is like a dream that they remember. They wake up, they're happy. Um, so, I mean, that's the general rule of thumb for how things work. This big blank spot can be anywhere. I mean, some people, that's like 7.5 hours. And then they remember the last 30 minutes of the day or the night. For other people, this is 8 hours. Whole time they sleep, it's just this huge blank spot. Now, let me just kick that. Man, that looks a little rough. Now, this blank spot is always like, so for somebody that remembers their dreams really well, and like for instance, I wake up every few hours, so I have a little 2 hour block at the beginning of the night, and usually, unless I wild, there's a little blank spot right here, blank, and then there's a dream. Keep in mind, in my mind, sleep equals dream. So REM and NREM, I'm not worried about at all. Like I don't worry about this. Now there are some things that it can teach us, but I'm not too worried about them. I just, for the most part, ignore them. Now, the beginning of night, there's a blank spot, and then there's a dream. What is happening in this blank spot for most people, if you remember your dreams? So, with a wild, you have to stay conscious through that spot. So, the game that I play is that basically you're going to fall asleep. Some things are going to happen, right? Hypnagogia may happen. Interrupting thoughts or intrusive thoughts may happen. You might get the feeling of falling. You might get the feeling of spinning. You'll get things that either, here, there's two. All right, you'll get things that either keep you awake and aware. Like hypnagogia usually makes people stay awake and aware. Or you have things that will make you fall asleep unaware. Right? So if these are the things that are happening, so let's say you fall asleep and you start experiencing hypnagogia, some HI, and you notice it, and it makes you awake and aware until you don't fall asleep. You fail your wild. Let's say you go to sleep and you start experiencing like some brain fog, right? Like your brain just kind of runs on its own a little bit. It's like almost like daydreaming or something like that. Brain fog. And then it makes you fall asleep unaware, and you lose track of your memory. You lose track of what's happening. So that's, in general, what's going to happen whenever you're trying to wild. Those are the two options. The third option is right in the middle. Yoink, yoink, which is where you fall asleep while conscious or aware of who you are, what you're doing, where you're at. You don't lose the memory of these things. And you may lose some memories. A lot of times when people wild, they'll leave something behind. They'll still lose something through transitions. So, transitions. Now this is the game I play. Remember I said we're trying to stay awake through transitions. And this is actually why I think that Oh, there we go. This is actually good. Brain fog is like a constant stream of automatic, incoherent thoughts and images. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. It's something that you can experience while you're falling asleep, and I'd say it's what most people experience as they're falling asleep. They just may not remember it. It almost seems like that is the thing that creates dreams. So, um, we'll talk about brain fog a little bit more. Yeah, the dang brain fog. So, but what I'm going to talk about more is in general, what we're doing. So, and why people ask me this, if it's not about NREM, it's not about REM, it's not about any of this, then why is it harder to lucid dream at the beginning of the night? Now, I don't care. It might be about the NREM. Like, there might just be so much NREM, and the NREM might have more brain fog, right? So, that's a big problem. So, brain fog is right here. Boom. Brain fog is like a constant stream of automatic, incoherent thoughts and images. It happens when you're falling asleep for some people, most of the time. I believe it's a pretty standard thing. So as you're trying to wild, there's going to be a blank spot. Now this blank spot is going to have different phases, right? Hypnagogia, maybe floating limbs, different things like that can all happen. Brain fog, all of that just can happen. And depending on when you fall asleep, you're going to have more or less phases in the last different amounts of time, right? So this is why wild at the beginning of the night, this is what I imagine the beginning of the night is like. You got wild at the beginning of the night, and it's like, hey, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and then you have a full dream. Now, these things I actually think technically count as dreams, but I mean that's not really what we're aiming for the most part. I think that usually I start my dreams about right here. This is where my dreams start. But anyways, that's just with my own technique. We're not going to go into that right now. So, um, wild at the beginning of the night looks like this. There's a bunch of different phases you're going to have to go through, and this is going to try to wake you up. This is going to try to make you fall asleep unaware. This is going to try to wake you up. This is going to try to make you fall asleep unaware, right? I'm not saying that it always does that. What I'm saying is each phase is going to have something that it's not trying to do it, but it's going to happen because you'll get distracted. You'll pay too much conscious awareness to something, and it'll keep you awake. You'll lose your conscious awareness of something. So then, let's say I sleep for 4 hours. Doesn't matter what happens here. Blah blah blah. And then good old wake back to bed. And then look at this. Look at the size of that. Look at the size difference. Not only are the stages shorter, they're also 3 of them instead of 2, or instead of 4. Maybe there's only 2 of them instead of that. Maybe there's only 1, right? And I've even had some times where I will lay down, try to wild, and there's no phase. There's nothing trying to stop me from wild. It's like I just lay down immediately in the dream. And that's power wake back to bed. Now, people also ask a lot about SSILD because people say that SSILD can help you to wild. What I think SSILD does is it takes this. So we have this right here, right? So, you sleep a bit, you wake up, and now if you don't do SSILD, it's like, oh, well, he'll have 3 phases. I don't know what's causing these. It's probably something to do with NREM. It's probably something to do with chemistry in the brain, but that part doesn't matter to me. Science doesn't matter. It does matter, but it doesn't. Hold on 1 second. What's up?
First of all, my head is hurting. Second of all, can I have your phone?
No, I'm using my phone. Um,
I want to set up the TV.
use my TV in my room.
Okay.
And get some water for yourself. I'll come and check on you in a little bit to make sure your head's feeling better.
Sure.
What I think SSILD does is basically cuts out this so that you have less phases to go through. It simulates a phase of sleep, and it makes it a little bit easier. It makes it a little easier to wild. Whenever I do wild, I never have that brain fog. It's just me in bed with an empty mind waiting for a dream to appear. Right. So that sounds like what's happening is you don't get to a stage that's forcing you down. You only have a stage that's forcing you up. You're too conscious. You're too aware. You're not falling asleep. If that makes sense. And so now it may be that that's the only phase you need to get through in order to lucid dream. I don't know. So what an anchor does is an anchor, it's a line right down the middle, right? And whenever your mind goes up a little bit, it makes it to where it doesn't go up quite as much. It makes it to where it stays right there in the middle. And when it goes down, doesn't go down quite as much. You don't fall all the way asleep. When it goes up, not quite as much. Down, not quite as much. And then you get to the dream and you're still there. So that's how I see wild as working. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and erase this. This is why I think that different meditation techniques, I think they take you through the first few stages of sleep or whatever it is, um, and then you fall asleep without that. And that's why, for some people, they'll go to sleep. They'll sleep 4 hours, right? A little 4 hour block, and they'll try to wild. Nothing. Like it's like a solid block of phases for them to go through. And then other times it's like, well, when I sleep 4.5 hours, it's like just like one block there. It's like what changed? It's like then I sleep 5 hours and it's a solid block again, right? Um, and I think that's what people don't understand is it's not about sleeping 4 hours or 4.5 hours or 5 hours. It's about sleeping the amount of time that there's less in your way. So what I always do is I say that whenever I go to sleep, I check for a while. I check to see if it's there, if it's going to be easy. As I'm falling asleep, um, I know the idea of my gosh, of what it feels like to have like really heavy phases. Like I know what it's going to feel like. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to sleep right now and it's going to be really hard for me to remain conscious. Or I'm going to go to sleep right now, it's going to be really hard for me to stay awake. Or not awake. To let's see, remain conscious, the opposite of that. It's going to be really, really hard for me to fall asleep. And so whenever I have this idea, I can change my wild at that point. So let's see this right here. Any steps to stopping yourself from sleeping by mistake during wild? I mean, you're supposed to fall asleep whenever you wild. So, like I said, you have an anchor or something like that that will make it. Now, this is something that's going to be unique. So let's say, for instance, I know I can feel that I'm really tired, right? And so in my mind, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's going to feel like this as I'm falling asleep. So if I try a normal anchor, it's just going to go down and down and down, and then I'll fall asleep. So what you want to do with something like that, or what I would do, is you do something that starts the anchor up a little bit higher. So then, by the time you fall asleep, because remember, you want to hit this stage or out in the middle. Whenever you hit that stage, you're at about halfway. Now, what I recommend people doing is sitting up. Try to fall asleep at like a 30-degree incline. Try to, like, I don't know, do like a burpee or something like that, something to wake yourself up a little bit more. Now, it's not about being awake, but the awareness that I'm talking about often is really connected with awake. And what this is, what I would call this is sleep pressure. It's this thing that is like, hey, you need to go to sleep, you need to go to sleep. It's what Matthew Walker calls your body trying to like basically make you sleep. It's sleep pressure. No, that's how I wild. I have a lot of wilds, and most of them were in the beginning of the night. That what I'm doing is not keeping me awake. I'm not thinking about anything, and just let the dream form itself. Okay, so then let's look at this. So what you're saying is you do them at the beginning of the night. Yeah, right. So let's say you have this, right? And you have a phase and a phase and a phase and a phase, and you're saying that you keep it right here, and it's a long time. Now, at the beginning of the night, I'd say it's when you're going to deal with the most phases, right? And because, let's see, you're saying that there's not anything pushing you down. It's just things keeping you up, right? Keeping you awake. So it basically just feels like you're laying there. Just feels like you're laying there. And then, at some point, the dream forms, right? And you can start a dream like this. You can start a dream higher. Um, but in general, it's going to, like, that kind of thing is not recommended. It's going to take more time. But I have a rule that overrides all rules. It's the most important rule. It's better than science. It's better than hypnosis. It is doing whatever works. If it works, you spam it. That's it, right? And now if you're like, oh, well, it's uncomfortable and I can't do it for a long period of time, well, then just do it as often as you can and try to apply it to different times of the night. Um, I also do wilds at the beginning of the night, but um, like I said, it's more about finding what your sleep is like than it is trying to find like the perfect anchor or the perfect this. Because I have anchors that I use whenever I feel different ways. So no anchor has ever been perfect for me. So let's see what it. I think also that it's not like most people. Same as I have them wake back to beds. Um, says okay. Why is this so much? Okay. All right. It says here what's the best anchor to do though? I would say there's no best anchor. That's going to depend on you and the time of night. Issue is the falling asleep part and being able to anticipate transitions, which causes me to remain too aware. Right. So you're so wild. Now that's actually something. Anticipation. Another thing that can keep you awake. You you need to not be anticipating anything. In my mind, that is the best way to do it. You no anticipation. You want to be, and that's where meditation and the things like that can really help with mild or wild, is because you don't want to be in a state where you're sitting there anticipating. You want to be in a state of existing, right? Like in a state of just calm centeredness. Um, let's see. Uh, like try to sleep on the bare ground. Like, right, yeah, I'd recommend trying to sleep on the bare ground. Now, I would not say it will keep you awake. I'll say it will keep you aware. Now, if you cannot, it can keep you awake, right? Falling asleep on the bare ground, it starts you up higher, right? Starts you up here. Woo. And if everything in your transition is pushing you down, then it's not a bad idea. Now, the goal is still to fall asleep at some point, but you're wanting to, you know, you need to fall asleep aware. And if everything's starting you down and you start right there, then you're just going to plummet to the middle, or to the bottom, I mean. Let's see, it says here, not laying in there for a lot is just 7 to 10 minutes in general. If it takes longer than 15 minutes to give up, I'd recommend most people, if you're trying to wild every single day, unless that is like your number one goal in life, I would recommend uh, 7 to 10 minutes, like 10 to 15 minutes. Don't spend an hour trying to wild every single day if you don't have the energy to do that. Just try it for a few minutes. Try it for 10 minutes. I'd recommend probably at least 5 minutes. 10 minutes would probably be the best. And I don't like to think of it as pass fail with wild attempts, which isn't like it's hard not to with most wild attempts. But remember, I said that the whole point is to be able to work better in your transition, right? So you have this whole time. I'm just drawing this same square over and over. You have this square, right? And you have different transitions through it, right? I don't know how many it is for anybody, right? And there's the hypnagogia. There's all sorts of things that can happen, um, right? But the more times you're conscious in them, the more you can self-reflect on what was happening, the more you're going to be less nervous while you're there, the less you're going to be like anticipating what's going to happen next, the more you can just exist there. So anytime, if you just you lay down and try to sleep, or just meditate for a little while as well, you get comfortable in this. And if you're comfortable in this, then if it switches from something like, hypnagogia to brain fog, you can change your anchor. You can also switch anchors halfway through. A lot of people don't do that or know that. So if you do that, then it can make it to where, I have this anchor that keeps me in the center during hypnagogia, and I have a different anchor that keeps me in the center during brain fog. Now, what's crazy is one day, you'll fall asleep, you'll wake up 4.5 hours, 5 hours after sleep, and right here, bleh, and then you'll try to lucid dream, and here you'll have hypnagogia, then you'll have brain fog, and then you'll have a dream, right? And then the next night you'll go to sleep, you'll wake up after 4.5, 5 hours of sleep, You'll go to sleep and you'll have just hypnagogia. And so it's hard to really prepare for something like that. Now, I'd say the more consistent you are, the more consistent it's going to be, but um, yeah, that's the general rule. For me, let's see, it says here, my issue is that I experience constant brain fog. I sometimes catch myself drifting off into sleep, but usually I end up losing awareness of my anchor and fall asleep without realizing. Now, you actually want to experience brain fog. In my mind, for most people, brain fog is going to be on the onset of sleep. You want to experience it, but you want to be able to experience it without losing consciousness. So you want to observe the brain fog. Laundry. So, um, this is a form of meta awareness. So your mind is thinking, your mind is doing, and this is you, let's see, looking at your mind, right? So whenever your mind does something, you're like, oh, I'm experiencing brain fog, right? Meta awareness, being aware of what your brain is doing at the time. Um, Meditation can help a lot with this. Uh, yeah, so I can't understand how to sleep being aware. I can't understand that part. It feels impossible. So, yeah, that's a legitimate concern. It's the same way I say it's the same thing as like being conscious while you're dreaming. It's just getting to that point is um, like it's a lot to do. That's why I generally recommend people before they start doing wild attempts. If like it doesn't make much sense, then just work on good old DEILD. And it doesn't even have to be from a normal dream. It can be from a lucid dream. And then you can see that the transition can happen while you're awake and aware. I don't think I've experienced any intense hypnagogia. Lol, it's been just intrusive thoughts and daydreams for me. I don't know like, what do you mean daydreams if not hypnagogia? Like, wouldn't a daydream while you're falling asleep be hypnagogia? So, um, Zap, didn't you already ask what brain fog is? Um, can you explain what it's like when you fall asleep without trying the wild? You know, those feelings appearing when you wild and you know you're about to fall asleep again. But what when we don't wild? Oh, what is it like when you fall asleep when you don't wild? I think it's the exact same. I just think you're not. Mm, I'd say you're not conscious during it, but consciousness you're just not like. I think the main problem with all of this is less consciousness and more memory. I think that whenever you're going through the transition and how a lot of people are going through their dreams, right? Transition dreams is they're basically like Dory. So every like 5 to 10 seconds, they have no more memory of like what they were doing 5 to 10 seconds ago. And so I think that that's what it's like, and that's what the brain fog feels like. It's like your brain is going on and it's not thinking about what you were thinking about 5 seconds ago. It's just thinking about thing. Very stuck in the present, which is good if you're trying to fall asleep. Um, yeah. Yeah. Like, does it take as long as wild? But we don't know. Yeah, I would say it does. I did. I did answer what brain fog is. I put it on the screen even. Um, yeah, just scroll up right here. Brain fog is like a constant stream of automatic, incoherent thoughts and images. I would say and or images, but yeah. Um, so that's my idea for how to wild. Now, you don't need an anchor for wild, which may sound crazy, but I feel like anchors really help. And the way that anchors help is I would recommend you take the most common thing that you deal with, right? Like if you deal with brain fog, you need an anchor to deal with brain fog, right? So you find an anchor that's perfect for you dealing with brain fog. You can practice it throughout the day with sporadic awareness technique, right? Do something that you're really intense in and you're not like focusing, you're just kind of like going through the motions. Not something like sports or video games. Something like TikTok. right? Where it's just like instant gratification, just something happening over and over and over. Um, and then snap out of it, right? Or try to keep something in mind during that time, right? Try to keep your anchor during that time. Now, my anchor is usually, I mean, it used to be a feeling. Now, so remember I said before that I would, you feel up, you feel down, you feel up, you feel down. I would be paying attention to that feeling. But, like, so it would be basically meta awareness. Oh, where? Wow, we're just going to write meta because apparently I can't spell anymore. It would be meta awareness. I would be paying attention to that feeling. Be like, oh, my mind's going up. Oh, my mind's going down. I could feel it. And I would also add in the good old fashioned mantra: I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. What's the main purpose of an anchor making you awake? It's to keep you aware. It's to keep you conscious so that you don't lose consciousness during the transition to a wild. Would there be anything important? I think right now we're just at question and answer. So if you have any more questions, you can drop those right now, or you can just check the stream later uh, and see what other people ask questions for. Laberge. Um, yeah. So any questions from anybody? So I like the anchor of just repeating I'm dreaming because it's not a constant one. I can't just think like for like 15 minutes or however long it takes to transition. It's I'm dreaming. 5 10 seconds later, I'm dreaming. See you, the buck. I will have a great time. Yeah, so I like it because it's a rotating anchor or whatever you want to call that. It's something that happens periodically instead of something that happens consistently. And so if it stops happening, it can really mess with it. Now, there is one thing I think is really helpful. Um, Interaction with hypnagogia, yay or nay? For me, I'd say hex no, but it also depends on what you define hypnagogia as. I think for most everyone, interacting with hypnagogia is going to keep you awake because, um, like, think about it like whenever if you've had audible hypnagogia, then it will sound like something's in your room, and then you pay attention to the surroundings. You're in your room, which is going to keep you awake. Greetings, Sensei. Is it possible to lucid dream for as long as you want, e.g., the entire night, when you manage to keep in mind to ground yourself regularly? In my mind, I think everyone wakes up periodically throughout the night, but I mean, you can stay lucid throughout the whole night. There's nothing wrong with that. I do think that there will be phases of sleep. Like, there's nothing written there. There will be different phases, some ups and downs throughout the whole thing. Um, there might be a little blank spot here. There might be a little phase here of something that's not quite as dreamlike, something there. But you can stay lucid during them. You can stay aware during them and know what you're experiencing as they happen. I like this one. It looks like bullets. And Foxy said, yeah, I thought it'd be something like that. Right, and it depends on you because, like, I don't know, like, hypnagogia for me, I don't know what the difference between hypnagogia and visualization is, and I use visualization as an anchor, so I pay attention to that. But it's not like, I don't know, it's a whole different ball game at that point. Um, let's say you enter the dream with bad recall and lucid dream be 180, 188p. I don't know what that is, and blurry. Um, I would say no, but you might remember it that way. And like if you have bad recall, you're just gonna have bad recall. Like you might have a higher chance to remember a wild, but if the wild goes on 5 10 minutes, you're going to most likely lose lucidity or lose your recall before you wake up. Are are wilds inherently more vivid and stable than dialed, or is it just a misconception? This one I think is really funny because I've heard it both ways like all the time. People are like, oh, dialed are just way more stable. Wild is always going to be blurry because you just came from waking life, or dialed are always going to be blurry because it's the middle of the night and your mind is like going to be fogged up. So it doesn't. It depends on the person. It depends on the wild. It depends on the dialed. I've had extremely vivid, long, and stable diodes and wilds. I've had extremely blurry wilds, and I've had extremely blurry diodes before. I've had diodes that I couldn't even see. I've had wilds that I couldn't even see either. I had to try to fix it in the dream. Yeah, the vividness is just part of the dream. Like, I have wild does need dream recall, but it needs it in a different capacity. If you fall asleep and you wild and you try to remember the dream later, it'll probably seem blurry because your memory is bad at that time. I think it's gonna make it more difficult, all overall, much more difficult. You think you've seen the guy with the SSL rank? I don't know what SSL rank Rocket League is. I'm sorry. Whew. So, oh yeah. So this is something I found as a really like. So, a lot of people are like, I don't. They'll say like, I don't know any of the transitions. I lay down, I try to sleep, and I don't remember anything. So I recommend, putting some pillows during a wild attempt. Again, everyone's like, you shouldn't fall asleep on your like sitting up. I mean, I've even done wilds completely sitting up. You know, but it's I'm not trying to wild for 8 hours. If I'm trying to wild for 8 hours, I'm laying down on my back. Um, how could you? Anyway, Sensei, how could do wild without hypnagogic? I don't know the difference between hypnagogic imagery and visualization for the most part. They seem like they are extremely interconnected, almost the exact same thing. And every time I close my eyes or anytime the lights are out, I see visualization. I've never not in the entire time I've been alive. So yeah, I don't know what to do with that. And it's not that I don't want hypnagogic. It's that hypnagogic imagery is one of those things that I think generally paying attention to it in most capacities is going to keep you awake. So you want to pay slight, like if it's your anchor, then you'd pay slight attention to it. Like I said, I'm usually paying attention to all the phases. That's my anchor. That used to be my anchor back in the day. Why would I do wild sitting down? Because it will, um, because let's say normally while you're laying down, doop, this is you. You start here, and if your everything pushes you down, you're just going to go fall asleep unaware. But if you're sitting up, you may start here, and then you'll still lose some consciousness. You'll still lose some thoughts and stuff like that. Did I miss your question, waifu? Oh noes. And so that would be one reason why you would want to try wild sitting up. Now, I would only recommend it, for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Don't try to sit up for 8 hours every single night. But I think it's a good drill to do. You don't need to sit up. You don't need anything, right? Waifu, can you get into more detail concerning the use of SAT for dealing with brain fog? Also, in what fog and does meditation help with wild? All right. Whew, those are some questions, waifu. My gosh. All right. I don't know how I missed those actually. So yeah, Zap, Snow. You don't need to sit up. You don't need anything, but it may be easier. It may be something that you want to try to see how it affects your dream. Everything that I ever say ever is going to be this may help you lucid dream, and so you can try it and see if it helps you. That's how I see things. Um, so, um, using SAT to with wild, um, frick, where'd the question go? I need to bring it back up. Oh, it's right in the middle. Sorry. Can you go into more detail because you're dealing with brain fog? So, I think that in general, a lot of awareness techniques are trying to deal with brain fog throughout the day, and I think that people mistake brain fog for. I mean, they'll say it's like, oh, you're not present or something like that. Now, SAT and things like that try to break people out of that presence. Now, I don't have that problem. Um, that's not like it's not what I do. So it's not something I can really say without a shadow of doubt, is going to help you with brain fog, but it seems to be what people are trying to use SAT and ADA and things like that to break out of brain fog throughout the day. And if you can break through it throughout the day, then you should have a better chance of breaking through it throughout the night. And in what way does meditation help with wild? I've said this a bunch before, and I'm sure 1,000 people don't agree with me. But that's okay. Meditation, in my mind, is directed thinking, which means you are choosing to either think or not think about something you choose to, right? So the meditation where you just sit down and you don't think, it's over here. Meditation where you just sit down and visualize, it's over here. Meditation where you lay down in bed and try not to lose consciousness as you fall asleep, right here. Wild. In my mind, wild is a meditation technique. In my mind, mild is a meditation technique. All of that. So, um, yeah. So, in what ways? I think, in general, meditation is also like exercise for your brain. And so then we look at something like wild, and wild, it takes some mental gymnastics, and so, or it takes, you have to be able to do this and this and this. It's complicated, or it takes, a lot of mental strength, a lot of mental clarity. And so if that's the case, then it's like exercise. So meditation is going to help you, or it's like a drill even. Something like SAT. That's more mindfulness, but mindfulness is similar to meditation in my mind as well. So we have these things that are drills. We have these things that are exercise. The things that are trying to help you get your mind into shape. Mind exercises, mind drills. And lucid dreaming is 100% mental. Now, people don't like that I say that either. But I like to think that the physical doesn't matter. People tell me about the physical all the time. Oh, you can't wild at the beginning of the night because there's NREM phases and you don't dream in NREM. Oh, well, you do seem to dream in NREM. And if you don't dream, you do something that is similar to dreaming, or you do something that is an experience that you have at night that can be physical or sensational. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by it's not a dream, because that's the definition of a dream, right? Thoughts, images, ideas that happen while you sleep. That's a dream. So if you're asleep and you're having thoughts, sensations, ideas, and stuff like that, that's a dream. So that's where my mind comes in with all of that, is that, yes, it's not technically everything, like technically everything is 100% physical. Like we live in a physical world, right? But, oh, that percent looks bad. But it doesn't help me to think like that. It doesn't help me to think about my brain chemistry. Now, some brain chemistry things may help, right? Now, it may give you a better perspective. But in my mind, the perspective is mental, or at least to do with the mind for the most part. So I focus on things that affect the mental. Sitting up affects my mental. Yes, it does seem weird to fall asleep sitting up. Why? It's harder to fall asleep. Okay, if it's harder to fall asleep, does that mean that it's going to also make it easier for you to combat brain fog? Does it make it to where it's going to be easier to go through transitions? I don't know. That's going to be from person to person. So, so if people are looking for meditations, obviously, Teodas, as well as Wherever You Go, There You Are. I find those to be the best for dreaming so far. There's some others. Just visualizing I find really helps a lot, and that in my mind is a meditation technique, but not everybody agrees. These two books are great for lucid dreaming meditations. They will help you understand exactly what you want. Let's see. Wild is way more complicated than I expected. It is and it isn't, because wild and dialed, they do share a lot of characteristics, right? With wild, you're trying to send your consciousness into a dream. With mild or dialed, you're trying to send your consciousness into a dream. Like that, you're doing the exact same thing. You're just doing it in a different way. One of them is you're trying to keep it all the way. The other one is you're trying to send it. I say consciousness, but it's, the idea that you're dreaming, or whatever you want to call it. So it is complicated, but it's not. It's, in my mind, as long as you keep it as, everything in my mind, it's trial and error. You're trying to figure out what works for you to accomplish your goal. Now, if your goal is to fall asleep while you're without losing lucidity, fall asleep conscious, then you need to figure out how to fall asleep consciously. And you need to figure out what things your mind goes through as you're falling asleep. Um, you need to figure out what happens while you're falling asleep. That, sorry, some brain fog, I'm tired. That is going to stop you from wilding. And when you find what stops you from wilding, you figure out how to get around it, right? It's just like the idea. You have a goal. There's something stopping you from the goal, so you figure out how to deal with the goal. All right, Discord is back. What's up, everybody? That's awesome. Harder, DEILD or wild? I've only done DEILD after non-lucid dreams a few times, but DEILD after lucid dreams, super easy. Now, DEILD, the reason that DEILD is super easy is because you have this, right? You have all these phases you have to go through here, the blank spot. You wake up, and you go right back into a dream. Boop, boop, and there's nothing there. There's nothing to get through. What's better? I don't like DEILD very much. I find that most people use DEILD as an excuse to not dream journal throughout the night. And they also don't do mild throughout the night. So what ends up happening is they just wake up and they go back to sleep, and they think they're trying techniques all the night. Now, sometimes, some people, it works really, really well. For other people, all they're doing is putting off actually practicing lucid dreaming, and then they, 10 months later, they've tried DILD. They may even had a couple, but they've spent their entire time not getting better recall, not trying techniques throughout the night. They're just waking up and going back to sleep throughout the night, hoping that it works, which is another reason why FILD sucks, because it not only does it focus on DILD, which I think is a very weak tech to begin with if you're going long term, but it also focuses on the physical. It tells you something physical to do. It doesn't give you a mental thing to do. SSILD is almost on the same boat as that. It tells you a physical thing to do for the most part, right? It doesn't say, oh, let your mind wander. It says focus on this, 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 focus on this. But the difference is it actually works. So that's why SSILD is actually pretty good, and it gets you in a very good meditative state. I'm talking a million miles an hour. Oh, wait, are you talking DILD or DILD? Oh, yeah. Yeah, and if you wake up naturally without moving, it can work really well. But for the most part, I do find that people that do DILD long term, it's more of a struggle. Now, if you're like really aching for a lucid dream tonight, a DILD might be a good thing for you to try. Especially if you're already like a lucid dreamer and you're like, oh, I just want to do some DILDs, like just throw them in there. But if it's the only technique you're trying, I think most people use it as a crutch. Zap Snow, I really think you need to read like A2 Old or some of the beginner manuals, man, because you're asking a lot of like common questions for this, and like we've already like okay. DILD is waking up in the night and then going back to sleep directly into a dream, usually within 5 to 10 seconds, very fast. That's what a dream exit initiated lucid dream, or induced. I can't remember if it's initiated induced. It seems like it should be initiated. Anyways, dialed is a dream induced or dream initiated lucid dream. I said this earlier. Dream initiated lucid dream. Dialed is any mild or any time that you become lucid inside a dream. That's a dialed. There's only 2 types of lucid dream. DILD is a type of wild. I definitely said this earlier. What a beautiful human. Oh, see him. Yeah. We got about 5 minutes left, and then I gotta go clean some more. Uh, why do I hate it? Why do I hate DILD or DILD? I don't like DILD. It's not that I hate it. I think that it has its uses. I just think that if it's the only technique, if you're only going to focus on one technique, it's not great. If you're going to focus on multiple techniques, it's fine to throw it in there. Yeah, basically, I think that it may work really good short term, but long term, it's going to struggle to get you better and better at the skills that you need to lucid dream. Let's see, it's almost like, in my mind, it's like a trick shot in basketball, right? Like, it will help in very, very specific situations, and it may help at whatever level you're at in basketball. But it's not going to get you to, the higher levels of basketball. You're not going to get better at that. Why is SP rare? It is a malfunction of your mind. And your mind's pretty well set to not malfunction as much as possible. It's ramatonia while you're awake. Yes, Omkar disagrees. I agree. Um, I agree that Omkar disagrees. Yeah, SP is like if it happens often, it's a disorder. It's not. It's not something that's like. I would say it's something that naturally occurs, but it's not something that your brain is designed to do. It is ramatonia after you've already woken up, and ramatonia has its own place. Sleep paralysis doesn't really have a purpose. It's just a thing that accidentally happens. It's a crossing of wires. So that's why SP is so rare. Um, some things that we do in order to lucid dream can increase the chances of increase the chance of SP. Lucid dreaming itself may increase the chance of SP. There haven't really been any great studies on it, but lucid dreamers as a whole do a lot of things that do seem to increase the chance of SP, like waking up throughout the night, stuff like that can increase chances. But it is still rare. I've had it 3 times, and I've only ever had it after DILDs, not after wilds or trying wilds. I just had them after a lucid dream. So, oh, I'm tired, and I completely forgot to change my shirt before this. Oh, yeah. So, wild. I do recommend it. I just don't recommend doing it very often. Um, I'm not sure what you mean by why no one knows about it that much. People know about it. Like sleep experts know about it. People that research dreams know about it. They've done a lot of research on it. They just haven't done that many in regards to lucid dreaming because lucid dreaming is not a very well studied field. Um, so I'd say it's really just the lucid dreaming part of it that's not. Why do I have a tattoo on my body? I have 2 tattoos on my body. This one I got, whoop, with my wife, and another one I got with my best friend after he went through his divorce. So, yeah, most people, like Archangel said, most people just don't care about lucid dreaming. Like, it's a niche hobby. It's not a mainstream thing. Um, like I don't know. Yeah, it's just like it's the same thing. When you read a book series or something like that, you really like it, and you want people to care about it, but you can't force them to. Um, so you just end up being in a small group with people that like that book series. Um, it's just kind of the way it is. Uh, See you later, waifu. I think it's time to end the stream. Goodbyes, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I can't believe Discord died right before I started. I was going to share it on a couple different places, but I guess not. Um, but maybe a chill stream was what we needed. And yeah, share this with people that are struggling with Wild. I think it's a good perspective to have on Wild. Um, yeah. And there's also audiobook can help a ton with Wild. I completely forgot to say that, but can help you to identify phases more. Highly recommend it. I can break that down in a future video. Talk to you guys later.